bank dang boom boom, bank dang dum dum, bank dang boom boom, bank dang. I'm going down ding, ding, to Alphabet Street, walking the first ding, ding. LCS did I see so much sharp and shiny that I lose all of my sensibilities. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yes, I will. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just send me the bill. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yes, I will. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good morning, fellow billionaires. This is Silver 5150 with your morning update for Wednesday, September 2nd, 2020. A little Prince for you there. That is going down Alphabet Street from his 1988 album, Love is Sexy. He was going down there for something else, but we'd be going to the local coin shop instead. So, of course, I had to have a little fun with the lyrics, turn it into us and not about him, but we will miss him. He has a great body of work. You probably haven't even heard everything he's done. Prince has contributed quite a bit to music. All right, and to that effect, we have 100 World of Dragons, Egyptian Dragon, 1 ounce silver rounds. Let's take a close look at this. These are from Provident Metals. I don't know if Provident actually had them produced. I think Golden State Mint minted them. But Provident Metals, they're the ones that headline this series, and other vendors carry it. And it's part of the World of Dragons series. And I think this one here was number 6 in the series, the last one, I believe. And there was the Chinese and the Norse and the Welsh, the Aztec, and what was the other one? I always seem to forget one. Anyway, there's 6 in the series, I believe. And I bet SilverGameOfThones has a whole series, probably a couple of them. But this is what we have today as a backdrop as we go on to talk about a subject. Now, you've seen these rounds before. I've actually had these on display, but I kept them inside the tubes when I bought them the first time in one of my earlier videos. And I also had the copper ones there at the same time. So I was trying to express my importance to copper to you when I had these on display with the copper ones and to have copper in your stack. So I had 100 of these and then I had 100 of copper ones. And I still have them. These World of Dragons rounds. Copper is a very wise investment, especially when it's attached to a series like this. And that's something I had mentioned before. Please keep that in mind. If you're going to invest in copper, try to find copper rounds that are going to be, competitively priced with just like regular run-of-the-mill rounds, but that are attached to a series like this. And that will help you have better, profits, towards the end when you want to sell. Selling an individual copper round for some reason, it will draw you a little bit more profit than silver because nobody seems to know exactly, what the intrinsic value of copper as a round and part of a series and copper is. So anyway, let's move right along. So as per usual, we're going to go ahead and we're going to pan around these and take a look at them in detail while we talk. Okay, so we're talking about getting the bill for your silver. Prince was saying, send me the bill. Whether you're paying in debit or credit, the fact is you don't want to overspend. I talk about wild stuff and doing all this crazy stuff. We as stackers, for the most part, we try to live within our means. We really do. Because if you go beyond, trying to push your credit limits and trying to push your cash limits, you're going to get in a little bit of trouble. But, only in the wildest cases like myself do people ever go beyond buying or speculating into an investment like this because, you are taking a risk. You're taking a risk. And I try to see if I can push my credit limits and the limits of the current financial system as a stress test to me. But to be honest, one of the reasons I felt comfortable using my credit and my cash the way I have to buy precious metals is because I don't have the same level of responsibilities that other people have. So I try to keep that in mind. All right. But I felt that the system, especially the credit system and the currency system, was dying and on the way out anyway. So before I continue, I want to make one very salient point that was brought up to me by a subscriber yesterday. Okay? And in this particular case, the subscriber, they found themselves in a situation where a natural disaster had pretty much wrecked everything they had. But, even though they were preppers, by the way, excuse me. So they wrecked everything they had, and they had limited ready cash available. Okay, they were well prepared, like I said, but the natural disaster was severe enough to have ruined a lot of those preparations. For example, they lost a generator had a generator but lost it. Okay, so they made the point that if they hadn't had available credit limits for use at that time, things would have been much, much more difficult, to which I absolutely agree. And I've said as much in the past to take a close look at your circumstances and see if it's something that you can pull off or something that can work for you. Getting into the depths of credit or, using an extended amount of ready cash to invest in precious metals as we get to some of these seminal breakout points. Of course, you can't factor in everything, but perhaps even a hybrid plan, one where you use some of your credit to buy precious metals and leave, some left over for the unknown unknowns. Those unknown unknowns out there, the things that you cannot predict, the things that you cannot, front run. So yeah, so sorry about that. We are talking about the use of credit again today in whatever endeavor you decide to use it in, but in this particular case, the acquisition of precious metals. And with that, I'll go ahead and give a shout out to SilverGameOfThones. SilverGameOfThones! Excellent channel. For its outstanding presentation on what the use of credit to purchase precious metals in a controlled environment would look like. He set it up really nicely. Had spreadsheets and everything. So I'll leave a link of that video down in the description below. Okay? And I want to go ahead and dovetail that into a quick reading from LexingtonLaw.com on the legal definition of a debt jubilee. All right. So, I quote, "A debt jubilee is when a country or large organization cancels debt and clears it from the public record. Simply put, it's a large-scale debt forgiveness." Okay? Large-scale debt forgiveness. Some economists believe that enacting a jubilee as a method of preventing a depression, while others believe in more moderate approaches, such as a direct-to-consumer stimulus checks. Sound familiar? Right. So we haven't had checks, we've had check. When debt-fueled spending is the catalyst for stimulating the economy during hard times, concern rises over long-term economic stability. So yeah, when a debt-fueled crisis is the catalyst for spending, a concern rises over the economy of that region. Historically, calls for debt jubilee have occurred when nations have teetered on the edge of economic depression. And guys, if you don't think that we're heading, into an economic depression or we're like halfway there, I have news for you. I don't care what the politicians and the news tells you, we are headed into it. And it's simply because everything has almost, come to a standstill because of the virus. So let me continue. So sorry. For a debt jubilee to happen in America today, banks would need to write off a significant amount of consumer debt, either student or credit card debt, right? Or mortgage debt, or a combination of these things, and erase it from their credit reports. Because of this, many see debt jubilee as a modern method of redistributing equity and resources while fighting against monopolies and the extreme elite. So, there you have it. Now, guys, you've been listening to this channel long enough, and you may recall when I mentioned back in February to listen for the language that will lead us to believe that a debt jubilee was in the making. Okay? With the key term being a deferment of interest rates. Then on March 20th of this year, the Trump administration announced that very thing, declaring that all student loan interest payments would be reduced to zero. That's right. They did that. And so I think was part of the CARES Act. But in this way, the president was able to declare a temporary jubilee without saying the words or making it permanent by giving arbitrary out dates. See, that's the thing. Once you give these dates and you say, well, we're going to do this or forever, or, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to sunset this, then you have committed to that action. But as a politician, you don't want to do that. You want to always give yourself some wiggle room. So then, in order to further avoid alarm in weakness in the system, there will be just one extension after another in these temporary, fixes. Like, for example, I think they're going to extend the interest rate deferment in student loans until December now. It was July, so they extended it. And it's just an extension, right? It's not going to go on forever, right? Exactly. So let's go ahead and do these extensions forever and ever in perpetuity. Now, right now, it's just with student loans, but I think it's going to expand a little bit. So in this way, you can have all the benefits of a debt jubilee without declaring one and admitting that there is an irreversible crisis in the debt system, which there is. I think a student loan program was chosen because of its, it's the easiest avenue to explore this technique. you want to go ahead and hit the easiest loan system there is, the one that has the most impact politically. And of course, if you're going to protect the students, because you already have the social safety net, but if you're going to go ahead and protect the young minds that are going to be, forming and shaping and flaking our country, then that, plays very good politically. All right. So yeah, I think the administration has the same thing in mind for credit cards, personal loans, auto loans, and mortgages as we continue down the road, right? They're going to go ahead and they're going to ease their way into this stuff. But speaking of continue, let's take a quick look at the markets. So, stock futures right now are up on news of, Europe restructuring their stock market. I don't even know what that is, but that is the story. Europe is restructuring their stock market, and supposedly there's going to be some good earnings coming out of tech stocks today, some good financial reports coming out of tech stocks. And so as a result, everything's up in the Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, and the Russell 2K, small caps, about 0.6%. So that's up pretty good right now in the futures markets, which makes no sense because the euro is getting clobbered this morning, heading down, down below 60 basis points into the 118s again from the 119s yesterday. And the dollar is being pumped up hard, back past that 92 handle to about 92.58. So what's taking the hit for that? Of course, gold and silver is. Gold and silver right now are down quite a bit. I think we're looking at, I'm going to go ahead and call this a pullback, well, maybe a correction, because gold right now is at 1971, down some 0.4%, or $7.70 in futures trading. And silver is, of course, outperforming gold to the downside at about 2.5%, or down some 75 cents, down to 27.90, below that mystical 28 floor that we thought we had yesterday. So, the games are still afoot. The traders at the COMEX and stuff, in league with the Federal Reserve, they have found themselves a sweet spot where they can go and they can get metals to head to the downside while pumping stocks while the dollar is strong. And guys, if I haven't explained this before, anything that's valued in dollars, the stronger the dollar is, okay, the fewer dollars it takes to buy that item, which brings the price down. So stock futures should be down. But in a manipulated market where you have the Federal Reserve bias towards pumping up stocks to keep the markets, looking good and keep pensions solvent, because a lot of pensions are tied to the stock market, okay? That is why you can have that offset to where gold and silver are down, but stock futures are up. They should both be down at the same time if the dollar's strong. They should both be up at the same time if the dollar's weak. It's a simple equation. But with manipulation, you can get a lopsided result with stocks up and with commodities down, gold and silver. All right. Oil is actually doing okay. Oil is just hanging in there at the flat line at about $45.84 a barrel. So, all right, that is your stock update or your market update. And I think the NASDAQ is on track to make a new record today. I think it's going to break a new record today. I think it's going to crack 12,000. And that will be an ultimate new record for the NASDAQ. All right. So we're going to go ahead and keep an eye on this pullback. I hope you guys can take advantage of it. If you see some good deals out there, of course, post them in the comments below. And then people can take advantage of them. And that'll be great for everyone, because we do want to get as much of this as we can get before things start to roll over for real, which I think is going to be coming into the fourth quarter. I thought for sure we'd get better results, after this last COMEX, call for delivery. But it looks like they're going to be able to lease, cheat, buy, and steal whatever they need to get this thing done, to get the deliveries done, or they're going to sell a lot of their short positions to just get out of the contracts altogether, which is not a default and it's not a force majeure. It is just cheating. So whatever. All right. So yes, this price smackdown we were going to enjoy, and hopefully, they'll announce something about the new 2020 Libertads while this smackdown is going on. So we could definitely get on board with that for a lot less fiat as the spot price comes down. So I'm looking at these Egyptian dragons and have them laid out like this. And I'm thinking now that I probably need to lay them out, I'm going to say bottom and top. That way you can get a better look at them. But you can get a pretty good look at this one right here. And you can see with these coins, with these rounds, that they went all out with the detail. Look how long that Egyptian dragon is. His tail goes all the way past and over the the pyramids and stuff. And they always make these dragons really grandiose and really huge, because in mythical lore they are gigantic dragons. They represent an entire region, so they cover quite an area and stuff. If you look at all the world of dragons, they're like that. They're like that. All right, so let's get back to our topic, and we were talking about earlier. We were talking about forbearance. Okay, so forbearance is simply choosing against your right to enforce the payment of a debt. If somebody owes you and you just decide to let them slide or give them a break or just ignore it, that's called forbearance. Your forbearance, you're choosing against your right to enforce a payment for a debt, which, legally you have the right to, demand somebody, pay you. There's different avenues to make sure they pay you. I'm sure that there's certain underground elements can tell you creative ways to do that, but that's another conversation for another day. But yeah, forbearance, basically you're not forgiving debt, you're either deferring it or you may forgive it at some point, right? So that's what forbearance is. And if you guys are familiar with the CARES Act, many of the other types of debt are already covered under the CARES Act besides the student loans, if it can be proven that you're affected by the virus. So the mortgages and the car loans and all that stuff, there are different parts of the CARES Act that actually address that. And so you can take advantage of that. So now I think this is just one of the many steps on the road to the global debt jubilee, but I'm pie in the sky that way. I think that we are going to have the debt jubilee. They're never going to call it that, but we are definitely going to, start dissolving people's obligations. Is it the right thing to do? Is it moral? No, I don't think so. People, if you bought something, you need to pay for it. I fully believe that. And I will continue to maintain that posture until I find that, it simply is not required or actually is a hindrance to the new law saying that you're not supposed to do that. Until then, I will satisfy my debts through hard work and perseverance, and I will forego and ignore or satisfy those things before I satisfy any of my other, frivolous desires, of course. That'll be later when we're all wealthy. Anyway, so, until then, all we can do is keep a watchful eye on and listen for changes in the languages of global leaders as they extend debt forgiveness beyond just, those affected by the virus, but to everyone and everything. That's coming. So what'll be next? Auto loans, mortgages, residential perhaps, residential mortgages? Better yet, how about commercial real estate loans? Now that is a huge chunk of consumer debt. Residential real estate loans, look at all the building that's going on around you. Buildings and, office buildings and, little strip malls and stuff, and nobody's moving in these things. Because I think it's all part of this optic, effort to create the optics that make it look like the economy is booming, but is really just a bunch of noise and activity. Kind of like the Chinese ghost cities. China made it, made the world, actually lifted the world economic growth by doing all of the city building in China, and nobody lives in the cities. They're empty. But, that was one way to do it, because when you start doing real estate building or contracting, you can lift pretty much every other consumer market with just that one activity. So that's how they're playing that game right now. It's in the United States. I see it in my town. I see it in other towns and stuff too. But at the same time, I see a lot of buildings emptying out and going closed, even while there's building going on. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You take a close look and you start to see just how bad things are under the hood. I'm not trying to, be a Dr. Doom or anything like that, but it's real. This is real stuff. Or as SilverGameOfThones says, no BS. All right. So after watching the bungling here recently of the stimulus check program, it is clear to me that in the last 5 months, there has been nothing but an effort. This has been nothing but an effort to stall the collapse of the global financial system. And this is all countries. And by extension, they want to stall the collapse of the consumer credit system. All right? That's the game they're playing. One of the things I know is that I'm going to be watching like a hawk to see what's going on in the residential real estate prices. That is my thing. I've repeatedly bandied about my belief that there's going to be hyperinflated silver prices that will intersect with severely deflated luxury real estate, that price schedule. I think if you find a property you like, don't matter where it is in the world, and you take a look at it and you just watch it month to month or week to week and see what happens to the price of it and track it, and I bet you it's going to start tracking down. The question is, how far down will it get? And as it goes down, how far will silver go up? Because that's what you want to do. You want to find that sweet spot. All right. So And, look, and I am not particular about where I live in the world. I really am not. At this point, I've lived everywhere and I'm pretty much happy anywhere. But as long as it's on the coast somewhere, I should be able to find that one diamond in the rough, the one where I can use very little silver to get a lot of really nice house. Mainly because the banks are at that point looking to offload it from their Jubilee books. Now, notice what I said. When the Jubilee happens, and they won't call it that, but when the debt forgiveness or the debt dissolution or however the globe decides to do it, once the banks are free and clear of any toxic debt they have, they're still going to have these assets that are part of their spreadsheet. They're going to have empty properties all over the place. You see them right now, where Sotheby's and Coldwell Banker, they have all these different properties and stuff. And they're just kind of sitting there. And a lot of them are nicer properties and whatnot because people have either downsized or they retired and moved on. And, there's no new, generations to take over, these mortgages because nobody's, making the kind of money they were making because the economy is, tanking around the globe. So you're going to have all these, properties sitting on the books and stuff. And it'll be up to you to find those diamonds in the rough, to look through, their inventories and see what's out there, what's available. If you are of the heart and mind that you want something like that, and then you go and you start working your magic and checking the price schedule and looking at your asset portfolio and seeing what you can handle and seeing when a good time is to make a move. Now, of course, stay in this community and watch and listen to what people are saying and doing because you can learn a lot about how to make your move if you hear people that are always looking into that world. So all the information you can get at that point is very beneficial to you. Very beneficial to you to take advantage of that. So that's my thing. That's my thing. So, yeah, I think I'll be able to find a diamond in the rough where I can get a lot of really nice house. And the banks will be looking to get rid of some of these places, if you look on the internet, in exchange at that time for the premier currency, which will be what? Silver. Silver will be the premier currency at the time that the housing market is reaching its bottom. And I want to say the luxury housing market because entry-level homes seem to always do well because people are always looking to enter into the housing market and they want to do it at a low level. So entry-level homes won't change that much, I don't think, in retail value. But I think the luxury prices you see, these homes are 1.5 million, 2 million, 9 million. 800,000, all that stuff, you're going to see those numbers drop because they're not going to be sold. They're not going to be filled, and it makes me want to get them off their books, and you can help them do that. So I had a subscriber yesterday ask me how many ounces I thought it would take to purchase a really nice home with silver when the time was right. Some had said 2 monster boxes of silver, which is 1,000 ounces. Some had said a monster box, which is 500 ounces. I think Mike Maloney had said at one point, Mike Maloney from goldsilver.com, it said 2 monster boxes or a monster box for a house, a really nice house. And I say 250 ounces. Or in the case of American Silver Eagles, it would be 12 rolls of coins, half a monster box. So I could be off base with that, but somehow I don't think I am. The thing is, all these wild claims I make about $600 silver, being able to buy a home with half a monster box, being able to buy a car with 14-ounce bars, until we are absolutely sure it's not going to happen, meaning like either silver price doesn't move or the economy gets fixed or politicians stop lying, we can't say that it's not going to happen. We can't call it BS, and we can't ever say never because we've already seen crazy things. So, I feel comfortable saying these things. It's just, of course, what? The timing is everything. The timing is everything. And so, I think we're going to see a lot of this stuff we're talking about now in the next 2 years. So if you guys are stacking, continue stacking over the next 2 years, get what you can get. But I think by the time we get to probably the middle of 2022, every cat's going to be out of the bag. Everything's going to be known. Everything's going to be visible for people to see in the plan if you're able to plan, or to remain in despair if you did not plan. But it's all going to be available for people to really, really take notice of. I want to give you a quote from the great poet laureate, Doug Casey from the Casey Research Institute. And Doug Casey has been a speculator for a long time in commodities mostly, rare earths and all that stuff. But he's done stocks and everything. He's done everything under the book. This guy's been in the game for probably 45, 50 years. And he is one of the great speculators of our time. He's wrote plenty of books. Doug Casey says, and I quote, "Well, the global economy has always been a bubble in search of a pin. But with this new virus, instead of a pin, it managed to find a sledgehammer. And guys, when I heard that, I fell out. I fell out. I was laughing. It's sad, but I felt laughing because it's true. It's true. The economy was already weak. The global economy was already weak before the virus came in. And now there really is no fix for this. There really is no amount of tools in central bank toolboxes to fix it. All they can do is try to contain it and slow it down. It's going to happen. So until then, we take advantage of buying silver and gold to a certain extent, fractional gold if you can find it. And so, yeah, that's really all you can do. And just wait. Wait, listen, look, pay attention, contribute, be ready, be prepared to make that move on something that you really want, whether you want to pay off debt, whether you want to get something medical done, whether you want to enhance the education of your kids' education, whether you need a high ticket, a big ticket item, however you can lever, your new currency into that in the new silver age. That's what we want to do. We all want to do well. We all want to come out of this well. Just like my point about yesterday, silver stackers being the same mindset as any place where you have a house rigged against regular people and those people are beating the house like at a casino. That's why everybody's cheering everybody on, because they know that the rig system's getting beat. And this rig system's getting beat by us stacking. Okay? All right. So that's all I got for today, guys. Thank you very much. Okay, for tuning in. And please make sure to click the link for Silver Game of Thrones' excellent presentation on a safe precious metal currency purchasing outline. He put together a really good presentation for that, so check it out when you get a chance. Okay? Yes, but like I said, thanks for tuning in, and I just want to let you know that I'm Silver5150 telling you that your stack is not whack, and that just 12 ounces to your name keeps you 99% ahead of the game. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you tomorrow with a new morning update. Cheers.